Angie.
Hey, how are ya?
I'm good. How are you?
Really good.
Excellent.
Oh, where's my, how do I do this here?
I hear you, Amy.
Oh, hello.
Hi.
I was looking to see I'm using my phone. I usually don't use my phones.
We can hear you, but we can't see you, Amy.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to figure out here on my phone. I usually use my computer. Oh, there we go. Right. Hi, everyone.
Hey.
Hello. Coming through on my ears now.
Mm.
Do this.
Hey, Amanda.
Hi. Hi, Macy. Nice to see you again.
Hi.
Hi.
Your hair's long, Macy.
It is.
That looks good.
Hey.
I like it short too, though.
Yeah, I'm
Hey,
still.
Leanne.
People have said to I'm like, yeah, I think I'll cut it again. They're like, keep it long. It's easier to put up. I'm like, yeah, but then once I have the baby, it'll never get done. All the time.
I think that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that's when my hair started to get long, is when I had kids and I just couldn't get in to get it cut. So it's all right.
probably the other reason.
I never had long hair in my life, and now I have long hair with my two kids.
There were even times I got really desperate. You know that place, Kids Castle Cuts? It was a hair cutting place kind of over near the mall just for kids. And I would sometimes sit in the chair and get my hair done at the little kids place just because it was the only time I could get in here.
That's great.
Desperate times call for desperate measures.
Hey,
Hey, Maisie.
Hi.
What do I do it so that I can see everyone?
Hey, Susie, we see you now.
Amanda, how are the kids?
You're still muted, Amanda.
I realized that as I was talking. They're doing good. They've been playing, and they just both had their birthdays, and so they've been doing lots of Lego building and just keep them busy.
Good.
Excellent. Well, tell Leo I miss him.
I told him you were on, and he came and he peeked, but he won't come on camera.
Are you able to see everyone?
Uh-huh.
How did you do it?
It just came up that way. Let me look what mine says at the bottom.
I can see you right now.
Maybe if you go into speaker view at the top right hand side of the screen.
Susie and Ivana are trying to figure it out in the other room. Your hair is long too, Melissa.
Yeah, long and gray, unfortunately.
Well, we can't see the gray. There's no gray.
I have 3 teenagers, so I come by it naturally.
Oh. Yeah, they can do that.
Yes.
Hey, Lexi. Hey, Amy.
Hi.
Not even on full screen, Susan. This here is full screen. Okay, so go to the top. Okay, good. But then I see myself.
This is what mine says. Mine's got this up there.
You're on the app, I think, and I didn't do the app. You probably chose to do it because I don't think I have the app on my.
What's
You
the
need
phone?
that
What's going on?
here.
I'll give it a couple more minutes. I know some people are still joining. Hi, Erin. Hi again, Lisa.
Hi.
Hey, Nicole. Hey, Shelly.
I don't know what's wrong with my computer, but does anybody know from the phone how I can see you guys better? I only see like myself.
Never done it on a phone. It's probably a small screen.
If you swipe on your phone, like if you swipe left or right, usually you can see more, but I think on your phone you can only ever see like no more than 4 people.
You're right on. I just got you. Thank you very much. Just right. Thanks. Hey, Melissa, you're one of them I see. Awesome. Nice.
Hey, Lisa, good to see you.
Thank you. My dog's very bad.
Arthur hears them.
Hey, Kristen.
Hi there.
I saw Paul Ware's name pop up. Let me see if I can find him on the screen.
Yeah, we were just meeting as a 5th grade team.
Oh, good.
Oh,
Hi, Paul. Solar eclipse.
Yeah, I'm in the dark.
Just you.
Good one.
Amy, where's the baby?
Hi, Carrie. Hi, Michelle. Hi,
Babies.
Margaret.
Both babies are sleeping, thank God.
I was gonna say, could you go wake up one so we could see the little one?
No, I'm not waking the bear right now.
Hey, Paul, it's good to see your face. We didn't even know what you look like. Welcome.
I try to take a Sasquatch tactic, not seen.
Elusive.
Oh, I don't know if you remember me. This
Aw,
is Jocelyn, but I remember you with a mustache.
Yes, yeah, that was my big handlebar mustache era.
It was excellent.
Yeah, I go through stages.
Maybe we'll see it again someday.
Probably.
Hey, Debbie Allred. All right, I think we've got most people here who are going to join, and I've also got Jocelyn and Kristen as co-hosts, so if you guys wouldn't mind kind of monitoring people coming in and the chat and hands up and such, I appreciate that. I just wanted to start by welcoming some new people. Let me share my screen as well. So we've got the agenda up here, but I didn't know Paul was going to be here or not, but welcome, Paul, first of all, our new 5th grade team member coming to us from base. Any words of welcome that you want to share? Or we're just really glad to have you here. I think you're going to be a great addition to our team.
I have no words of wisdom. I would have to have wisdom.
Well, we're a fun staff. We're a great staff. I think you're going to enjoy it here, hopefully.
Welcome.
Welcome. And then we've got some student teachers, and I believe at least 2 of the 3 are on. Beata, would you like to introduce your student teacher?
So if you scroll through, find Emily Conroy, sorry. And that's Emily, and she's Lewis and Clark. We met up yesterday, social distance Jamba Juice. So I'm really excited to have her and work with her, looks like virtually.
All right. Are you waving, Emily? Let's see.
Yes, hi.
All right. And then Kristen, would you like to introduce your student teacher?
Yeah, so if you scroll again to find Macy Putnam.
Hi.
If she can wave to all of us. And she also comes from Lewis and Clark, same program as Emily, and will be with us all year. Maybe someday in person, but definitely online.
Great. And then Kathleen, I don't know that your student teacher is here from the counseling program. Oh, you're muted still, Kathleen.
She won't be around until after September 8th.
Okay, got it. And she'll only be here 1 day a week, is that it? So it's not a real long program, but she speaks Spanish, correct?
Yes.
which is a nice addition. So that's great. Well, welcome all new people. Again, I hope you're going to enjoy your time with us. Oh, and we have some new people in the EGC. I saw we're on here. So Leanne Gannett.
Hi.
She's coming to us from Conestoga most recently. And I talked to Zan, the principal there, and he loved her. So we're really happy that she's joining us now. Anything you wanted to say, Leanne?
I want to say hi, Tracy, my new coworker.
Hello.
Hi.
And we've got Melissa Nazal joining us again. She used to be here in the EGC. So she's been transferred back here. So welcome back, Melissa.
Thank you. I see so many familiar faces actually, so
we're pretty
kind of fun to
stable.
scroll through. Good.
Good. Is there anybody else I missed? Any new other people? All right. Well, great. Wonderful. Thanks and greetings. So I've tried to keep you guys updated by email, but I just wanted us to come together. And if you have any questions, you can ask them along the way or at the end. But we were potentially on the cutting block for having lost 2 positions to flex at one point. I believe there were 37 kids on the initial list that I got. But in the end, it ended up only being 20 who went to fully through with the process and accepting flex. So fortunately, we only lost 1 position. So based on the numbers that we had, it was clear that that needed to come from 2nd grade. So we were originally, I don't know if you remember, there was 1 position that we could use K5, and then another one from the Student Investment Act that could only be used K2. So our numbers were the biggest last year in 1st grade, so rolling up to 2nd grade would have made sense to put it there. But right now, I think we have like 72 or 75. There was a large group of students that actually went to Flex Online from 2nd grade. So we'll be okay with 3 teachers there. But I had planned for 4. So the way we went into this and the way it stands at this very moment, but we'll need to change very quickly, is that we were going to have Jocelyn and Teresa and Margaret and Sandy as the 4 that were going to be at 2nd grade. So we need to have a person in 4th grade because that's going to be a 3-member team. And I know very much that Margaret and Sandy were hoping to be able to stay together as a team. They've worked together for quite a while. So at this point, I've been asking for volunteers if there was anyone who wanted to go to 4th grade. I still haven't heard anyone step up for that, but if you have that in mind and want to let me know about that, please let me know. Of course, that would require some other reconfiguring, but I will need to make a decision on that by Monday at the latest, most likely. So in my mind, I of course have a plan, but if anybody has any interest into going to that position that's currently certified staff, let me know and we'll see what we can do. So classified staff, it's been not a whole lot of information coming out about that because as before, they've tried to make sure the certified positions were firm before classified became somewhat firm. But I think all of you might have seen an email from your association saying that people really just want to work and that they're willing to work out of their category if it means that they still get the same pay that they've gotten before. So para 2s could be working in a para 1 type position, but you'd still be getting the para 2 pay. So the idea is that they're really trying to make sure everybody is still employed and has their hours and their benefits. I know that they've been very clear about not wanting the benefits to go away for people. But I know that there is still some talk about furlough and whether that's for a period of time. So for example, the bus drivers, they really don't have anything to be doing at this time. So I would be personally more concerned about their positions. I do worry about like our crossing guard hours and things like that, whether those would be furloughed until we would come back to a hybrid type model. But I don't have any information on that yet. I know that it's still being talked about and still in negotiations, but I do know that they're trying to keep everybody employed in as many hours as we can. So are there any questions on the staffing update part of things? We'll just stop and go there first.
I was just wondering what enrollment in Kindy looks like right now.
We are at real close to 50. I think we're around 49. But one of those, Yvonne told me was leaving. So we need to get to 55 to keep 3 teachers. But I'm also told that they know, like Yvonne said, normally we get 15 to 20 who register that last week of school or even slightly after the deadline. So we're still on track. We were expected to have 75 by the demographer, but what we've found in the past is that usually is 40 too low or 40 too high. So we're still hoping to come in somewhere close. So we just need to get to 55. That's all we have to do is get to 55. I've asked if there's a drop dead date for that, and I don't think they're telling us that at this point, again, because there are quite a few schools. It doesn't matter if it's title schools or non-title schools, they're all come in significantly lower than they would have in previous years. And we don't know if that's people just don't know what's going on, so they haven't registered their children, or if it's people are concerned and so they're purposefully planning on having their children stay at home for another year. But it's not just us, but we're hoping that people will still be coming through the virtual door and signing up. Yvonne and Susie are working full-time as of Monday of this week. So while our office is not physically open, parents can't come into the building at all. It's a very clear guideline from the district. They can't even come in and use the bathroom. Like when we have Kindergarten Academy next week, there'll be some tables and they'll be meeting out under the covered area with social distancing, like just a couple of families at a time. But they can't even come in to use the bathrooms. The district has been very clear in memos that they're not going to put porta potties here for people to be able to use and things like that. So hopefully we won't have any accidents along the way with that. But I think they're going to, like they've done in years past, give us a couple of weeks into the school year and see where our numbers are across all grade levels. And then do the old teacher switch when if there's, a school that came in 30 more in kindergarten than they expected, maybe we would be asked to send a staff member. It doesn't mean that we would be sending a kindergarten staff member. It's the whole thing of where you ask for volunteers first, and then if there were no volunteers, then I would have to put up 2 names of possible candidates to the receiving school, and then they would get to pick. But I'm really hopeful. We're so close to 55 that I really think it will happen. If you know of anybody, I've been trying to say in my Zooms with the community, if you know of anybody who has a 5-year-old or will be 5 by the start of school, please encourage them to register. Or they can call, like if they don't think they can do it online and you hear of somebody, they can call into Yvonne, she can walk them through it, or even potentially, do it as they tell her the information. But we just want to make sure we get those numbers counted.
I still think we should have a bus drive through the neighborhood.
Yeah, I know that's what often makes people aware that they should come in. But that might be confusing to people too.
And can I just clarify then that if we don't get the numbers, that means we go down from a staff of 19 to 18? Like the staffing allocation model does not allow us to keep. Okay.
Correct. And this is such an odd year that who knows? I mean, I don't think they would want to actually lay people off after the school year started. So it's usually more of, and there used to be a time, I don't know if you've been here long enough, Jocelyn, but they would hold back like 14 actual positions. And then because there were always bubbles that came up. So it wasn't so much shifting people around. It was more of, oh, we see that there's a bubble at Cooper Mountain, so we're going to give another teacher to them because they've got 37 kids in each 3rd grade classroom. And so it wasn't you were taking someone and putting them there, but you actually had a position to post and hire someone into, which is much cleaner, of course, than having to shift people around. I was at Barnes one year when we got cut in October, I think it was, but it's true. We had classrooms of 15 at the time. So going up to 30, it wasn't even 30. So dividing 15 out between 2 classrooms, the numbers were still reasonable. But there were other schools that were really suffering. And so, but at that time, of course, it's terrible loss when somebody has to leave your school and go to another school, and those students have to join a new class that they weren't anticipating joining. And other students have to develop relationships with the teacher that they didn't start the year with. So it's not ideal, but we may be faced with that this year. We'll just see. a lot of things are still being decided, and as you may or may not know, the bargaining with the certified union is still continuing on. I think I did share the calendar with you that came to me this morning. And so they've got some things figured out, because people honestly need to plan their lives and their potential vacations that they might take further in the year. I haven't heard anything about conferences though. Have any of you been in on any discussions about the bargaining? We're just so on the periphery. We just hear, yep, it's continuing on, but we don't have any details. No? Okay.
There's a conversation, a question that came up in the chat, so maybe you could speak a little bit to it, about the broken windows at the school. And Yvonne said that, yes, they have been boarded up, but maybe you could kind of fill in staff that don't know about what's going on.
Yeah. So we have had multiple, I'd say 4 to 5 different incidents this summer of windows being broken in some form or another. The most recent ones, Alejandro believes, are more like BB holes. Somebody's been shooting it. But I was actually diving in Mexico when I come home and check my phone. That's why I've been away from it for a few hours, and have multiple calls from the alarm company. That was on a Sunday, and it was in the middle of the day, early, actually kind of like late morning, that the call came in. So you know, that meant that the breakage actually happened then, and that was what set off the alarm. By the time I called back, district already had people that had responded to it and were cleaning up the mess. But they have no idea who did that. So they did the real big window in the lobby that faces the covered area, the one that's just to the left of the door as you exit. So it's not the one by the nice art exhibit, fortunately, and they didn't do any damage to that. But it is the, I don't know, it's probably like an 8 foot by 10 foot almost window, really big one. And then they did shatter the glass on the door that came in there, but they weren't able to break that fully out. Police did respond, but of course there was nobody here by that time. We don't believe anyone got into the building, or if they did, the hallway doors were closed. They weren't able to get in anywhere, and they didn't cause any damage inside. We've also had the office where the school psychologist that works with the EGC program, that window has been damaged. And one of the portable windows got damaged, and I believe Mark Wildfang's room over on that end, either the door or the window was damaged. I believe Alejandro said they actually fixed that one, but the others, yeah, it looks pretty bad. Like we're all boarded up, and I don't know when they're going to be able to come around and fix that. I know it's not the first priority. And so if anybody hears anything, let us know, obviously. I did see a large group of teenagers when I was leaving the building one day. They were just hanging out under the covered area. They were not faces that I recognized, and they weren't doing anything nefarious at the time. But yeah, we just need to be conscientious of, they said it's actually happening at a lot of schools. It's not just our school. There are so many kids with a lot of extra time on their hands that just are getting into a lot of mischief. They won't give us security cameras. We've asked for that before. I don't know if some of you were here when we kept getting the dog poop all along. Somebody was coming, and we think maybe they had autism or something, because they were all kinds of different dog poop bags that they probably must have gotten from the Powerline Park up there, but they would put them almost perfectly spaced, like 15 feet apart, 10 feet apart, all along the bus lane and up and around the curve. It was very strange, and it kept happening over a weekend for a while. And we had at that time asked if we could get some cameras, and they're just not into doing that as a district. So I don't know at what point. We did also, up on the roof, we have some sort of skylights that you probably wouldn't even know were up there, but to let light in. And students had gotten up on the roof and used their foot to crunch that through. Alejandro saw the remnants on the floor somewhere, and so they did fix that. But yeah, there's a lot of mischief going on. And again, for kids getting up on the roof, I don't know if you remember last year, but kids over the summer got up and spray painted the whole upper area of the school on both sides, but they won't put things to prevent the students from getting up there. They said they've tried that before. And first of all, it can be a liability if the students get up and hurt themselves on things that we put up there to keep them down. But they said that they've tried different things in different places and it really doesn't deter them. So like if they put these spike strips, they said the kids just throw their jacket over the top of it and protect themselves and still get up. So I don't know. My mind just doesn't go there like, oh, there's a building, we should get up on top. But apparently lots of children do think that way. So yeah.
Angie, somebody said, is the alarm that sounds for the alarm company sound through the neighborhood? Like, is it loud enough that the neighborhood would hear it also?
No, I think it's just Susie and Yvonne, you could chime in, but I mean, I've never been here when it's gone off, but I'm presuming it's the same thing we hear when we set the panel. And it's just inside. I don't believe it broadcasts outside anymore. The old one used to, but a couple of years ago, it seems like they programmed so we just hear it in the office beeping. Susie or Yvonne, do you have anything to add to that?
I don't know anymore. I'm thinking it's the quieter one too.
Yeah, I don't
Angie?
hear it as soon as I leave the office. Yeah.
Angie, it was me that asked that because I literally live a block down the street. So I'm thinking, hey, if I hear it, I could run up and see something. But
Yeah, that's great.
I haven't heard anything.
No, I think in the past when we would set the alarm like at night, probably 2 or 3 years ago, I don't know when they changed it, is we were walking out to the car. It went for 90 seconds and it was really loud and it was blaring. And I think neighbors didn't like that because our custodians go till 11 o'clock at night when they were on the schedule where one is during the day and one is during night. So I can imagine at 11 o'clock at night, people aren't enjoying the more for 90 seconds. So they changed it so that when you set it in the building, you can hear it there, but it doesn't even go within the rest of the building. It's pretty much a silent alarm. And I don't know if they wanted it to be that way on purpose or not, but yeah. And so I would just recommend to any community members, if they were to see anything actually happening, it would be a 911 if it's actually destruction happening then, or if there's something that looks like it's not too good, but you're not sure, they can call the non-emergency and they would swing by usually and just check on it if it's after hours.
Do you think it would be useful or like helpful to post it on like the PTO page that we've been having some damage at the school, and just to keep your eyes and ears open if somebody's walking through on a walk?
Yep. I think that'd be a good idea. I was posting something on ours. I don't know. I've been really super busy today, but I tried to post the schedule because they said we could also share it with the community on my Facebook, and then I was going to share it to the other, but on my computer at home, it was just kind of stuck for a long time. So I don't know if it actually went or not. But I was going to share that out, and then I could share the community things that are going on as well. I know they also want to know our staffing. They like to just know who's going to be at which grade levels and that kind of thing. So I want to get that out to them as soon as we get that formalized as well.
Yeah.
Any other questions so far? You can always ask them at the end if something else comes up. So normally, I have it on here as a scheduling meeting, but I think we have it in our title narrative as collaboration meeting. But it's a meeting that we usually have every year during the springtime, where we have one representative from each grade level. We have somebody from ESL, somebody from special education, Amy is part of it as far as intervention, and specialists, so that we can look at the whole school schedule, so that we're not scheduling over the top of other people, or, so that if intervention needs a specific time, that it's not going to interfere with ELD or whatever. So I've set that tentatively for next Tuesday. They said we can still use title funds to make that happen now, because obviously we couldn't do it at the end of last year because everything was wonky. So I think we've got members from each team. I'm trying to remember if everybody's responded. I sent out a sample schedule, so we do kind of have to start with where specials are. It's not an issue where lunches are right now, because it's always going to be 11 to 12 for everyone. And it may have to change up if we do go to hybrid, just slightly, maybe more than slightly, but part of the problem is now there's just going to be an hour window for lunch, but if we go to hybrid, it's going to take, I think, at least 2 hours to get everybody their lunch and their recess time, with the supervision for the students, so that the teachers don't have to be in there for that 40 minutes. So Carol and I have been talking about some different strategies for that, and I think we'll have something that works either way. But just wanted to let people know, if you have any things that you want the person who's represented your team to bring up, please get it to them, and we will meet next Tuesday.
Angie, we have a couple people wondering about lunches, whether we'll be serving free lunches or lunch for people to pick up at the school again.
Yes, we definitely will be, and it won't start until the 14th when students are officially back in service. But I don't know, there's been also talk about furlough for the cafeteria workers, nutrition services. And I don't know if it was more if we came back in a hybrid model, but talking about, well, it would have to be for comprehensive distance learning, but they were talking about maybe they just have them work a couple of days a week, but have multiple food items that they would be sending out each time, like a breakfast and a lunch for 2 or 3 days at a time. But again, I don't know where that's landed. Our school, if you've been by here recently, we still have a big fence around the main parking lot, and they are allowing us to open it up every day so that people can start to park down here. But it does need to be closed by 3:30. And so if anybody comes, make sure your car is out of here so Alejandra can lock it up by that time. But they were supposed to maybe be finishing the curbs today, but we haven't seen them. So I don't know how long this project is going to go out. They tentatively said the 28th for removing the fence around the periphery, and that will make things look a lot nicer here as well. But that's just an update for that piece.
And so would lunch be like 11 o'clock, and that's
11
like
to
break when we're not teaching anything?
Yeah, that would be when it would be provided, but it would be just like kind of like, I don't know if any of you were here at the end of the year, but the families come in and they sign in. We are potentially going to become, I don't remember the exact wording of it, but basically a school where any child can get free breakfast and lunch. We're on a list for that. It's still not fully approved, but that would actually make things really nice, because then they don't, at least for the breakfast piece, anybody can just come up. You don't have to enter your number and things like that. I don't know if they still need to have that just for accounting purposes for lunch, but that would, make things obviously much easier if everybody gets free breakfast and lunch. But Jocelyn, the only thing that I worry about is because we were having the construction, they didn't let us have a summer program for lunch, which we normally always do. So I don't know if they will condense. Our construction should be done. But I don't know if they would condense locations so that our families were to go to Fir Grove, or right now when we had in the spring, many of the families who came here were not from here. They were from Sexton Mountain attendance area. They were from Cooper Mountain attendance area. But as I had mentioned before, it seemed like it was often an enrichment activity for a lot of the families, that they weren't necessarily depending on the food, but it was an activity to get out and about and see people and such. So I hope that we will be hosting it physically here, and I think that will happen. I just haven't gotten confirmation.
There's a question, Angie, about who is on the scheduling committee.
All right, so you guys might have to say who the reps were. They've been coming into me. I know Lynn is for first grade. I don't know if we have a first grade person here. She just emailed me yesterday. Jocelyn, are you doing second?
Yeah.
I think, Carrie, are you doing third? No?
Jessica's doing third.
Jessica's doing third, okay. Kindergarten, Kathleen, do you remember who's doing kindergarten? Was it you?
It wasn't me. I don't think I even knew about this.
Okay.
I don't think we've decided yet, but we'll all be at the school, so one of us will join. We'll already be there for Kindy Academy.
Yeah. Sounds good. And maybe I'll have you guys talk about that just a little bit, what the current plans are. You guys, did you already meet today for your final planning, or later today?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, we met
yesterday.
Okay, great. And then fourth grade, Paul, I think, was going to do it. It's Paul or Mark. One of them said that they would do it. And then fifth grade? Fire's doing it. Okay. Yeah, so those are the reps. And Amy and I are going to meet a little bit beforehand because some of the things that we need to discuss, and you guys could be thinking about it too, is whether with the paraprofessionals. I'm hoping that we'll also be able to use Catherine Harder and Nicole Blanchard as people that can help with academic groups. Because right now, when we're doing the comprehensive distance learning, they are not in the specials rotation. It's just music and PE. So again, I'm hoping they can be additional people that we can have help with small groups. But whether we do it where we look at the literacy block and we flood everybody into that time so you can have a bunch of small groups, or whether we look at it being, okay, this person and this person's assigned to kindergarten, this person's assigned to first grade. I don't know yet. So if you have any strong feelings one way or the other on that, you're welcome to email that to your rep or to me directly so that we can think through what's going to be the best way to serve students.
Angie, we have quite a couple questions
Okay.
about the scheduling stuff. First one is from Michelle. Do you have any idea how SPED services will fit into the schedule? It sounds like SLPs will be Zooming all services.
Okay, so I had talked to Carrie about it a little bit, and there is a block, if you would notice, so what I've been told and what Carrie had been told is that they needed to have 30-minute blocks with each grade level. So you'll see that in there. Some other people had questions about, well, what are our students who don't receive those type of services doing during that time? And it would just be another block that they would have to do their asynchronous learning or other things that you have asked them to do earlier in the day that would be independent work. I don't know, Michelle, about the Wednesdays. I think that's part of what's still in play. I know there was a time when they thought that students would get either additional minutes on that day, or I don't know exactly what the reasoning was. But obviously special education staff need to get their planning time as well. So I don't know if anyone else has heard anything about that through the bargaining. I know that Wednesday is the day that they told us that they don't want us to do anything with right at this time, because it's I think the biggest piece of what's being negotiated at this time. So I don't have a great answer for you, Michelle, but I would think if you look at where it says resource on that potential schedule that I sent out, that could be the grade level time that you would also potentially be able to work with students.
Some of them anyway, but okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Probably more to come from SPED.
Yeah, I don't have all the details from them yet. Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Yep, you're welcome.
Angie, we have another question about specials. And I also was curious, like, are we going to be having, like in the spring where the special is just posted the lesson or video, or is it going to be like a live session that the kids Zoom into?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it would be a combination. So Carol and I are working on a different schedule, but right now we will just have basically 4 people, but it's 3 full-time positions. So we've got 1.5 music, 1.5 PE, and we're working through the schedule. So right now what it's looking like is that we will likely share Christy Andre. We'll have her in the mornings, and she works the other half of her contract at Cooper Mountain. So they would have her afternoon. But then in talking to Macy, she would like to do the 2.5 days because she's half-time that way. And we have a way to make both of those schedules work. But that means that sometimes, like for an example, 5th grade, we need to have 4 different activities going on at once. And sometimes we have 2 physical people here, and sometimes we have 4. I guess we would always have 3 because we would have Christy in the mornings, and that's when 5th grade is, but we need 4. So there are times that they would need to be getting asynchronous learning pushed out, but there's a kind of a complex schedule. All your parents would need to know, though, is that the students every time at such and such a time need to be available for music or PE or whatever it is. I guess it's possible that if it's asynchronous learning that's being pushed out, a lot of people might disengage, I don't know, not do it, but I'd rather that they at least attend to the academic portions if we can get them engaged in something.
And then
can I make a comment about that?
For sure.
It's kind of a question. I kind of feel like when it's time for their music time, which will be either music or PE every day, if the teacher is saying, okay, it's time now for music or PE, if the teacher just is, if there's a way for them to sign in by us putting a note in the notifications in Seesaw with the link to their Zoom meeting. Is that how you do this? Like, do we do a link every day for their Zoom meeting?
I don't know. So
just send them to Seesaw.
So 5th grade is going to be using Canvas, not Seesaw, but the other grades are going to be using Seesaw. I'm not really sure what your question is. Does that make sense to you, Ms. Kiesel?
Well, the only thing I could think of is if they're doing like a live Zoom lesson, let's say for music or for PE, and they have them all on like we do now, it could work that we post that music Zoom code just like you sent out to us and say, here's the music Zoom code. And then at, 10, they all hop on that Zoom call. Or depending on what the schedule looks like, if I'm already in a Zoom with all my kids because they would have just had reading and it was synchronous learning, it almost makes more sense for then like Carol to just take and be a host of my Zoom instead of trying to have kids sign off and sign back on, have her just jump on my Zoom. I give her host permissions, I sign off and go about my plan time. And then if then I have math right after music, I could then just hop right back on, and my kids never have to then hop on and off Zoom. It's the teacher that's hopping on and off that Zoom, which is one less code for them to have to put in, one less thing for them to have to navigate.
I like that idea.
For those classes that don't have that, where specials is not either before or after some other block, I know it's technically not as secure, but luckily in elementary we haven't had this issue as much. For my groups in the spring, I just had the same recurring meeting, and I would send and resend as many times as necessary, but I was like, okay, on Tuesdays at 2, you always use this link. And so like as a teacher, we could give a reminder, don't forget to, log on to music at whatever time, but if you just always have the same link, they're gonna have it.
Okay, so we could just set a recurring thing for, and that actually works pretty well because it's always the same day of the week that we would teach that particular group because of the way the schedule is this year.
Yeah.
So like your class is going to meet on the same day every week with music Zoom. But I guess it was, there is a problem with knowing whether or not there's a way to link from Canvas to Seesaw if we need to do that. So
for the asynchronous, right?
For the asynchronous learning where they actually are going to do a Seesaw lesson, they need to be able to get on to Seesaw.
I bet there's a way in Canvas that you could link that. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, we'll figure that out. I think it's all doable, and I think it's going to be specific to each teacher, like Jocelyn was saying, if you don't have a synchronous group that you're doing right before going into specials, but we'll figure all that out.
Angie, one other question. When we did look at the schedule that you sent out, for the scheduling meeting next week, do you have any more information? Are we going to be primarily synchronous learning? Like when it says reading block, is that going to be primarily doing a Zoom synchronously with kids or small groups, and then, maybe at a separate time they have asynchronous work time basically that they would be engaging in? Or is it going to be more like the spring where, it's kind of, I guess.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so it's going to be a little bit tricky. There's going to be a lot that's kind of within your control during that time, but we just need to have on paper. If you go back to the guidelines that I sent out probably 2 weeks ago from the state, there are requirements that have to be a certain amount of synchronous and asynchronous learning. And just remember that those terms mean you as the teacher are providing either in person, that's the synchronous, or the asynchronous means you've recorded something and pushed it out. And it's usually 60 to 120 minutes per grade level. And it gets more as kids get older. I don't remember how much it was for 4th and 5th, 3rd, 4th, 5th. But we have to make sure that that is being delivered. So we just have to make sure that's in place. But I could see you you know, doing a mini lesson and signing something, and then students are working, but you're still physically there with them in case they need help, or we're putting them into breakout rooms so that they can get some small group help, and all that counts. It's just the time that they're trying to make this more like it was a real true school experience. So it will mean that people are on the computer more directly with kids than we were in the spring in most cases. But you will have flexibility. What we're also trying to accomplish is that parents know when their students need to be on the computer. So if we know that they always have specials at this time, they always have math at this time, the more that we can keep that consistent for families, the happier they're going to be. I've also still been reaching out multiple times to THPRD, and they haven't gotten back to me, probably because they don't have it figured out yet, but we are supposed to have, from everything I'm hearing, the Thrive program here during the days from 8 to 6. They've changed the hours, that those are the times that they would be available. But those programs also would be trying to accommodate every grade level schedule and have the kids on a device during that time to be able to do their schooling in lieu of a parent assisting them. So yeah, we just need to make sure that whatever you're creating is at least as an individual teacher, and ideally as a team, that the students need to be on at a certain time, and they need to, or it's something that's recorded that they could look at later, but we're really trying to get that they're on when you're synchronous. The asynchronous part they could look at later.
And then one other question. A lot of the PD on the patio this last couple of weeks have been like how to create these very beautiful, very elaborate videos. Do you have any information about, like, is it okay to just push record on our live Zoom lessons, or are we, I don't know if that's still being negotiated, like, are we creating these beautiful video lessons that we did in the spring and doing synchronous live lessons, or is it like I'm on Zoom and I'm pushing record, and if you have to watch it later, you're watching my recorded Zoom lesson?
I don't have the information on that. What I want to make sure is that people aren't killing themselves, because I know they did in the spring in a lot of cases, and work 12, 15-hour days getting things prepared. I think the more you can let go of making it beautiful and making it engaging and the personal connection, the better off we are. And that's, you know, for, again, some of you might not have known, but I have had an assistant principal the last 4 years. My first year I didn't have one, but my style is more, as you can see from this lovely plain information here, I get the information out, but she always liked to make it pretty. So I'm giving you a heads up now, stuff is not going to be as pretty as it was in the past unless people help me, like Jocelyn and Kiesel did on one presentation I did for the community, the Q&A session. So yeah, I would let go of pretty if you can. I know there are a lot of people who can't, but it's easy for me to do. So start with the basic information. If you can get to a point where you can make it fancier, feel free. But I want people to try to set boundaries for themselves so that you are not killing yourselves, but students are getting the learning that they need. And it's going to be hard at first, and I'm glad we have that extra week to really give you guys time to figure out what you're going to do. But in your own mind, if you can be like, wow, I think this, if we do this, it's going to take me an additional 2 hours, but you don't have that in your schedule, try to pare it down so it's something that's usable. I am getting, where we got permission to use title funds, and we actually have a chunk that we didn't use because of school getting cut short. But we were using that for the writing units of study. So I'm getting it for everybody, even if they said they didn't necessarily want it, because we have the money to use on it. I'm getting the phonics units of study for K1-2. And so those will be mini lessons that are already created. We haven't seen what they look like or anything, but that will hopefully help you if you can be like, oh, okay. And so now we're going to go into writing. I know at least I have this launch that I can do. The mini lesson will be able to be something that you can push out. And then you can be thinking what the activity is. Or if you just want to say, okay, and remember how the teacher, the idea they're also telling you, and you might have already heard this in some of the PD on the patio, is that you're introducing the Teachers College teachers as your co-teacher for the year. So that it should be like, you know, for the same person, I believe, doing the recordings for this certain grade levels. So they'll get used to this person being their video teacher and then you supplementing that and then giving them the assignment that they'll do off of that. So hopefully that'll help.
Angie, I had another question about the scheduling.
Yeah.
That intervention is at the same time as reading, which works really well in some ways, but also I'm just worried that if that reading is the time when we're also giving a mini lesson, either students would miss it if they were in intervention or Amy's time would be wasted. I'm wondering if we can offset her half hour by like 15 minutes and then we just tell the kids that it's actually 45-minute block or something so that there's not either missing or wasted time.
For sure. Yep. It's just kind of put in there for the sake of being a placeholder. And I put it down on the bottom of the scheduling draft, but we've been given direction that the reading intervention teachers are really only supposed to work with K-1-2 this year. We've always looked before about what grade levels had the greatest need and tried to make something happen there. And not that we can't use the paraprofessionals, because a lot of those are paid for, their hours are paid for through title. We have heard that we would still be able, I don't know if you remember, but I held back some title funds and I was hoping to be able to hire John Shibuya back with those. And right now we're hearing that we would still be able to do that. So I think we're going to have people who we can push in to help teach smaller groups or even individual in some cases. And like I said, I'd heard possibly the para twos would be able to be working with students and that aren't necessarily in the EGC classrooms in our situation. But I think we're going to have some bodies to be able to help us. And it may be that we hold people back for the first week until we get an idea of where the greatest need is, or we might be like, all right, I've already know what I'm going to do and what everyone's going to do, and we'll put them right into play right away. But I think we'll have people to help us, even if it's not Amy herself.
And then Nicole was wondering if there's at least like an estimated date on when we'll have kind of some solidity, or when we'll know what classified staff is doing, what their role is going to be, or if we're just in limbo until whenever.
I'm in limbo. We have not, honestly, that we have very, very little information about that. And I know it's very uncomfortable for people, for us just to be living in limbo land, but things keep getting more and more. Sorry, that's why I'm like on. We're just waiting on some of that information. Things are coming together in a lot of ways, but a lot of things are still out there. So sorry, I don't have anything on the classified.
And Anna was wondering about what are the pre-service dates for paras?
Right now, I sent an email for people to have an approximate idea of what they're doing. So it would be the 31st. I'm going to move my phone away. It sounds like there's a ghost on my phone. Just a second.
You want to know for the whole year? For every grade level?
Oh,
I sort of missed. Okay.
The whole year is the question, or just for pre-service?
Sorry, I jumped in while you went, and I went to a totally different topic.
Oh yeah. So for pre-service, it's the 8:30 to 9:30 just kick off for people to say hi to each other, for me to tell people, remember you're going to notify families that you're their teacher for the year. I'll send out the draft letter that has the English and Spanish if people don't want to create their own. We do need to talk about whether we usually do that, and then we usually do follow it up with a postcard or some kind of a mailing. So we'll have to decide if there's any way for us to do that, and it may be something that Susie or Yvonne could just do. That's a lot of writing things in for them, just saying, or I mean, I don't know, we could figure that part out. That part wouldn't be so bad, but a lot of times people like to do their own little postcard or something. So let's just, if you guys could kind of be thinking about that, if we're going to do anything beyond the email, because I know that's something that parents are excited about, and it reaches a lot of our parents, especially those who are excited about it are going to be watching their email closely. But we do, of course, have a group of parents who, I don't even know if mail's a good option for them, but that might not get the information through email. And then Margaret, you had a question?
Yes,
wait, sorry, I didn't finish that one. I'm so sorry, Margaret. So it's the kickoff, and then there's a time I tentatively had up on there for the paras to meet with me and Amy, so we could just discuss some things. And then the next day, what my thought was that when you guys as a team kind of know what you're doing, and if we have some agreements about how the paras will be used, that they might be able to join the individual grade level teams the following day, just for 2 half-day segments. So the paras would be working, I think it was the Monday time, and then the Tuesday 8 to 12 times, to be able to meet the teachers and understand from the teachers how they might want to use them.
Yeah, so just clarification, we actually have some sort of police activity in our neighborhood and my dogs are barking and I had to go check, but you said you're gonna order the units of study for everyone and the phonics K through 2. I'm trying to take notes for Lori too. She can't
Yes,
hear.
yes.
So what does that, can you just describe, is that like for the entire year?
Yeah,
And
it's the writing units of study. So I haven't seen
writing
the writing ones either. Apparently they're making it as quickly as they can because everybody wants them for distance learning. So the writing ones were going to be finished the reading ones were going to be finished first, and the district purchased those for us. But they got a bargain at like $85 per teacher if we did a bulk order. So most schools were interested in that. And so we're getting the writing units of study K5. And then we're getting the phonics. It's only available in K1 too. So I'm getting one of those for each of the teachers.
I didn't even know they were doing phonics. That's great.
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then can there be accessibility for like 4th grade teachers who got low kids?
I don't think so. Okay. I don't know that they would allow that at this time. The document that I had to fill out just said number of teachers at K1 and 2. So.
Okay. Right.
Angie, was the units of study for reading and writing for the whole year? Because I think the district had said that we were just getting the first reading. They had just, in one of the board meetings or something, it said they had just purchased the first unit because it was $90 per teacher, but they weren't going to do the units after that. It was just giving us kind of an idea of what we would need to be doing and creating.
I don't know. I thought it was for the whole year. I'm under the understanding that it is, because that would be about the same amount for the writing, and they're not telling us that's just the first unit. I think what they wanted, because I think what they were hearing is that some people wanted to control their own and some people wanted the prepackaged. So I thought that they would kind of encourage you or maybe even require you to do the mini lessons through the reading units of study for the first unit. But then people could choose after that whether they wanted to either watch the mini lesson and then recreate it in their own way, or just do their own thing with the idea that we're still on the same pacing as all the other schools. But yeah, I think it's a whole year.
Could we get some follow-up on that and clarification?
Yeah,
for your
sure.
questions, so we know what we're looking forward to.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, and also I just got a message for everyone who was wanting to say goodbye to the Salas Cortez family. I just got a message from Ivania that they finally have a date, which is September 18th. So I will be emailing that list of people.
Great, thanks. All right, I'll go into the next part, and then if there are any more questions that people think of, I'll take those at the end. But device distribution, I just got an email right before this that they're going to start with the iPad distribution. We already have one-to-one availability within the school, and Phil's actually here today getting them all ready to go. But September 1st is going to be our assigned time, 12:30 to 3. So we'll have to work out a plan. I don't have any more specifics other than that. I know there was another email that I got that said that the LMAs would be helping the TSSs, the Phil's position, create a plan for that distribution. And Phil said he has another meeting on Monday that will fill him in on what the overall plan is. But we need to get messaging to the families that they don't need to be here right away. In the past, they've had this whole like mad rush, and they've been here half an hour before or more because they think they're going to run out. But they have plenty for the students to be able to, everybody to have one. And if they have, we also have to tell them that if they have Chromebooks at home, to make sure that they bring them in and trade them out. Their goal right now is to make sure, and there may be the piece of if we have new students to us who don't have a device, they would also be able to come in and get a Chromebook at that time. Their main goal is to get Chromebooks and iPads to the students who have nothing, or to transition students who are K1 or 2 from Chromebooks to iPads for this coming year, because it is a much better platform for the younger learners. But that's all I have so far. We do have all of the Chromebooks here. I think we got 273 or something. And the idea is that all students, 3, 4, 5, would be able to get those and trade them in for whatever they've got currently that are their old ones, or if they didn't get one last year, but they've decided they want one now, we can encourage them to get those. So that Chromebooks will be a little later, iPads will come first, and hopefully some Chromebooks for the students who currently don't have anything.
Are those Chromebooks, are those brand new Chromebooks?
Yes, they're all in a pallet, they're boxed up and not even taken out yet. My understanding is the main difference with these Chromebooks is they have a stylus and a garage for the stylus that's in there. So that's, you know, a step up, but that their capabilities are very similar to the old ones.
And then what are do we have a plan for what are we doing with the old Chromebooks?
I haven't heard about that yet.
Okay.
Wait, so is this now, are we now saying that K through 2 will have iPads?
Yes.
So
K through-
second graders, first graders, kindergartners, well, I guess there aren't any kindergartners, but that currently have a district Chromebook, are we encouraging them to trade it for an iPad so everyone can have an iPad?
Yep, they're supposed to bring it with them, trade it out when they come.
That's a game changer.
Yeah.
Good to know. I was trying to learn Chromebooks without having one, but I'm not.
Yep, nope, they'll have the iPads.
And then we have a question in the chat. Where are the iPads coming from?
Phil says they have enough in each of the classrooms that there were already one-on-one. So I saw him down there. He just had a first grade card out and was doing whatever he needs to get them ready for distribution.
So the
Angie, this is Beata. I wanted to interrupt. The iPads that are on my carts are my Donors Choose iPads.
Yeah. He won't touch yours. He's only okay. But I'll make sure that he knows that not to look around for any in your area.
Thank you. Because I was going to give one to my student teacher because it just helps with teaching as well.
Okay, got it. Yeah, he told me he's just going into the actual K and 1, and then he said he was going to go into second grade next, and he's pulling out the carts that are in there and doing whatever he needs to do with them.
I was going to say, I think that's one thing that I know Sherry had it documented, and there should maybe be stickers, but some of them, I know we have iPads and certain carts that are from like Future Ready, from trainings we've been to, that would be ones that, like, I guess, you know, if we get back into the classroom, those are ones that, like, as a personal teacher, you would have for yourself versus school ones. And those could be at anybody's. I mean, I know Beata has some, I have some, Jocelyn might have a few, or somebody that might have some from Donors Choose that I don't think we'd want kids to have necessarily right now, because if those got damaged, then we wouldn't, you know, we'd have to replace them.
Do they all have a sticker on them of some kind that says that they've come from that?
I feel like the ones that came from like the district probably have a district sticker on them. And if they don't have a district sticker on them, then they're probably from Donors Choose or Future Ready or Personal.
Well, not necessarily, because mine do have a district sticker on it, only because it had to have something for them to, if I ever wanted all my iPads to have a certain app on it or something. I know for me personally, in my cart, it was the red ones that belong to the school or whoever. Because even the cases came from Donors Choose as well, so they were different from what was district given.
Okay, so if he needed to look at red ones, they would be okay, but the other ones avoid?
In my cart, in Pryor's cart, yes. And if I knew where my cart was, I could pop in like on Monday and just take them out so there's no confusion. But where are those carts?
He was getting the ones that he said he was going into the classrooms of K1 and 2. So I don't know that they would have been moved. You don't. Did
They're not in my room.
I think our carts were pulled from 5th grade when they were distributing Chromebooks and such.
Okay, I'll check with him. I don't know if he's still here, but I'll walk down there and see if he's still here when I get off with you guys.
Angie, I had some, this is Kathleen, I had some in my room that were for my Osmos that
Okay.
I had gotten before. They might be older. They're welcome to use them, but they might not work as well as the regular ones. And they say Osmo on them, and my Future Ready says Future Ready on it.
Okay. All right.
They know about I think they have a good idea of which ones are Osmo iPads because they are the older ones that they've got I think they have them in a separate Osmo group in terms of installing apps. So I think they know those ones. There was another question, Angie. Are we allowed to work in our classrooms during pre-service?
Yes, you should be able to. We are asking though, and Susie said she was going to send out an email. I don't know if she has already, that you have to sign in, but we don't want you physically coming into the office. There'll be a sign out in the main hallway outside of the office. And the main reasons are so that we know that you're here. We are asking that you stay in your area. I mean, obviously, if you're in the mod, you're going to need to come in and use the bathroom, but we're trying to keep people as distant as possible during this time. I'm not at this point, and you guys might be able to convince me differently. I don't think I'm going to have anybody move anything out of classrooms to, like, if we think that people are going to eventually move to a different area, because I don't envision us having kids in the building for a long period of time. And I know that there was a note at the bottom of the calendar that I sent you that said that it's bargained that there would be at least 3 days between transitioning from distance learning to a hybrid model so that people would be able to get prepared for that. So we can talk about that a little later, but you would be able to work from the building during pre-service week if you like, as you would be able to do during the year. But we just want to make sure we know who has been here, and especially for the sake of contact tracing, if someone does unfortunately come down with something, we would be able to notify the other people that were in the building that day, just so they would know.
Can we, question of, can we grab stuff that we will need for comparative CDL during that time?
For sure, yep. One of the tricky parts is we're not sure that they're going to turn your badges on. There was something weird, and let me try to check on this too. I read it as that badges would be turned on for the basic times from like 6:30 till, I don't know, sometime early in the evening, not late, and that it wouldn't be turned on for times like holidays or weekends and things like that. But that the people who currently have access, principals, assistant principals, secretaries, would still be able to have access with our badges like we do now at any time. The problem is, not a problem, but a good thing is our school has physical keys that will get you in the doors that you need to get in. So once you've come in, and Susie, as far as we know, can distribute that key to you, then you should be able to get into the external doors, the internal doors, because ours, fortunately and unfortunately, are a master key. And so again, don't lose it. Don't keep it with your ID, because that would allow people to potentially know where they can look you up online and say, hey, this person works at Chehalem, and I'm going to go and I'm going to try to get in. Again, the alarms would go off, but they could potentially grab some things and get out of here with some expensive items or do some damage prior to that. So just make sure you keep your IDs and your keys physically separate. But I don't know if they're going to be turned on or not. I will get clarity on that for you.
And then are we going to be able to come back and forth? Like, do we need to grab everything? Like in the spring, we had to kind of grab everything for, 3 months worth at a time. Are we going to be able to maybe come in like once a week to grab what we need for the week and then return it?
Yeah, for sure. You'll be able to. It's basically like it's open for staff, but they're encouraging people to work from home when they can. But also that it's open as a possibility. So if people want to come in, I know a few people have mentioned that they really would prefer to work from the building, and that's fine. We just need to know that you've been in here. And I guess I have mixed feelings about like if you're out in the mod, because then by coming in to sign in, if you're only out there for a few minutes, it might be better just to let us know that you're coming in and we can maybe document it for you, because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to potentially bring germs into the building that never would have entered if you're only out there for a short period of time. So we'll have to think through all those things. But we did have a committee, was it last week that our committee, return to school committee met, or 2 weeks ago? All kinds of blurs together. But we came up with some really good ideas and some pretty good protocols for if we were to come back in a hybrid model. We thought through a lot of things. Not that it wouldn't be tweaked, and that the rules might change before we would come back in a hybrid model, but we came up with a plan that seemed like it was pretty good. So.
Yeah, we thought Louise and the ELD team would be like under canopies out in the field.
Don't say that. They're going to get worried.
She's asking where her stuff is at. She wants to know where their things are at for ESL.
It's still in the classroom.
Hazel,
I told them not to move
I'm
it.
coming after you when this is over.
I told them not to move it. It's still in there.
Okay, thank you.
And because for the sake of that, the Head Start will be moving in with us, and there's a rule that they need to be near the kindergarten classrooms, and so we were going to place them in the ESL room, but they are also under the same constraints that we are and wouldn't be starting until we would be back in school. So my goal is to lower everybody's stress as much as possible. I wouldn't encourage you going in and setting up your full classroom if you think there's any chance that you're going to move, but I think most people are going to stay where they are, and people will know by Monday of next week what our final configuration is as far as teachers. So again, if you're a person who's going to work from your classroom, you might want to at least set up a corner so you've got your materials ready, but I don't do the whole shebang that you've done in the past. And I know that they're asking people to take personal items out, but again, my own mindset is I don't necessarily know that we want to put our energy into that right now. And I don't know if the custodians will be given a directive right now to start taking the extra furniture out and such. I don't, in my own mind, this is not necessarily the right time to do that. But again, more information's coming from different sources that we have to follow, and I'm not sure what they're going to say. So in our team that met for the return to school planning, we did have a discussion about whether people, because the directives from the district are that any soft items need to be taken home, but we thought, and I've got permission from Leslie Hodovec, PE teacher, that if people had items that they didn't want to haul all the way back, because if we were able to come back in a full version of school, they would want it back in their classrooms, you would be able to personally put items up on the stage. We wouldn't ask custodial to do it because this is in lieu of you having to take it physically home. But you could, wrap things up, box things up, make sure your name is on it clearly, and then you could put it up on the stage instead of having to take it all the way home. So we think, and the other place that was going to be our primary storage area would be the cafeteria. And even if we have daycare, we believe we could probably put a lot of it on the far side but I don't know if that will impinge on they just have the 35 square foot per child rule. And I think they would have plenty of room because I think they also have a rule that they can only have 10 children at any one time in a space. So I think they would have plenty of room even if we use half of it, as long as it's not precarious and would topple down on them. So I think we'll be able to work it out.
Angie, also, do you know if we are getting new teacher computers? I know that a lot of us were having and across the district issues with, the speed or overheating or things like that. And especially since we're on a Zoom basically all day now.
I haven't heard anything about that. I know that they were the teacher loaner laptops, that they were on a cycle, but I haven't heard that we're on the cycle for getting new ones this year. So I would encourage anytime you have a problem, submit a help desk ticket, and that's going to help track it. But I haven't heard of any overall replacement. My own computer is 5 years old and it's starting to have a lot of issues as well. So fortunately, they're going to be able to swap it out for the one that I bought through school funds for Erica. And so I'll have an updated one that she just had last year. But yeah, I know things are, do you remember when you got them last? Was it 2 years ago?
We got them when I started, I think.
4?
I think they were
was
like
thinking-
4 years.
Wow. Okay. I was thinking they were on a more rapid cycle for replenishing than that, but I don't know.
Sherry told us last year before she left that we were supposed to get new laptops this year, but I mean, I just figured maybe all that went out the window. I don't know.
Maybe with buying devices for students, I don't know. I'll ask
right.
that question too. I'll ask if when teacher laptops.
Yeah, that's why I was asking, because I remember that same thing from Erin. Like, my computer was kind of doing things, and she's like, oh, don't worry, just hold on to it for a couple more months. You're getting a new one this summer anyways.
Oh.
Yep.
Okay, I haven't heard that. Yeah. I mean, it could be that they are planning on it, but they just haven't had time to do it with making sure that students get devices, but I haven't heard anything about it. I will find out though.
Title budget? Just kidding.
No, I don't think it has to be for student things. Well,
it is. I mean, I got my computer overheated several times in the spring and kicked me out of Zoom and shut itself down. And so it is for students to keep their teachers
I know.
connected.
Yeah.
Is there a restriction on using our like own personal, like, I mean, I have to get my computer again, but like I bought a computer since I didn't have one this last year. As long as I'm at my house, can I use that if the district one is?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, you can use any devices of your own that you would like. You just need to make sure that, of course, you're going through your district sign-in and those kind of things, and using the staff portal for things. You wouldn't want to be Zooming with your personal account or anything, but yeah, definitely.
Thanks.
All righty. Any other questions?
Oh, I have a comment though.
Okay.
I am in touch with Polo and have finally found a way to get him something because he's still in Mexico. I don't know if he's can't come back. So if you guys still want to do anything for him, you can get in touch with Lynn, and then we're going to send something to him, hopefully by the end of next week.
Is he in? Do we know why he's in Mexico?
I don't know why. I've just been on and off texting with him, and I don't know if he can get back. I don't know like why he went or anything like that. So he's planning on coming back, but I think it has something to do with his
health.
Yeah.
All right. Are there any questions in the chat that I was just looking at right now that didn't get answered? Looks like it's pretty good. Are they installing the Zoom app on iPads? I haven't heard that. I'm not sure.
Well, they better if we're using them.
Yeah. Maybe, yeah, I'll ask Phil that too.
Angie, for further communication, I mean, hopefully a lot of big decisions will be made here in a week, being as we return in a week. Are you just gonna like keep emailing as you have been, or are you planning another staff meeting or anything like that?
Well, I'm kind of guessing between now and next week, I'll email you the things that I can, but I mean, potentially next Friday we could do another staff meeting if there's anything big that comes up, but we'll be meeting that Monday right after. So yeah, we'll wait and see. I'm totally open to it, but I don't know when we'll have the information. I'll try to get it to you ahead of time and then just do this kind of clarifying meeting for people who might have additional questions.
I see a baby.
He's getting big.
He's awake. So
Awake and wiggly.
Cutie pie.
He looks happy.
Hey, Angie, did you ever find anything out about our signature as far as when we are sending emails to parents via Synergy, that email signature does not populate up?
Oh.
And is that something we're supposed to constantly cut and paste every single time?
I wouldn't necessarily worry about it. But I don't know if they're aware that that's not happening. So when emails are sent from Synergy, it doesn't automatically populate the signature.
No, I mean, obviously from our Outlook it will, but not when we, and 90%, I'm assuming most of us send our emails from Synergy, not from our Outlook.
Okay. Good to know. I haven't heard that being an issue, but we'll get information on that for you. All righty. Well, it's good seeing everybody again, and I'll try to keep you informed as much as I can. And again, welcome new people. Welcome, Paul. Welcome, student teachers. Glad to have you.
Angie, one last question. Do you have any idea for us when we will get our class lists? I know like parents would be probably pre-service week, like maybe the second week, but what about us?
Well, Yvonne's ready to go on it whenever I give her the word. So sometime next week, you should probably be able to log in and see who you have. It took me a long time to balance the kids as well as I could for if we were to come back in a hybrid, because the district just randomly assigned them, whether they would be in the Monday, Tuesday cohort versus Thursday, Friday. And in a lot of cases, they were very, it made our numbers very much like 15 or 17 on one day and 7 on the other day. So I went in and I had to run this other report to see if they had other siblings, because they're making the middle school and high school students with elementary students, which makes sense, all going on the same days so that the older siblings would be home to help with the children on the days that they were home. So, but I was able to find enough students who didn't seem to have other people in their household that they needed to be stay with, that I could get them fairly well balanced. So I'm sure there's some report you can run, but you'll probably just see these are all the kids that I have. That's probably what it'll look like for now. But there's a different report that tells you which ones are on the first group of kids and the second group of kids. But yeah, so pretty soon. All right, guys. Any other questions? Feel free to email me later. Have a good one. Enjoy your weekend.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.